about it. He said, sorry, I'll come back to it. Okay, so we'll come back to the turnover part. Lost my place. I'm sorry. So then after we talked about finding people and the Four Seasons being really selective, I asked them, how do you deal with, conflicts in the kitchen? And, since it is a hotel, again, they have a protocol, they'll sit down with the cook, try to get in to see what's going on, if there's something deeper in their life, or, if they just had an off day, what the real reason is. They don't just, point fingers, and then if it's becoming a real problem every day, they write it down, they document it, they get verbal warnings, written warnings, and then termination. So then we talked about, well, is there any reward for a good service? He said not really. Good service is expected at that level, and, they do get complimented if there's good service, but they don't really get any rewards. And then I said, how do you motivate them? And he said a lot of people don't need to be motivated because, they love their job, and, they really want to be there and they want to cook. And, some people need to be more nurtured, and other people just need to just tell them once and they got it and they're good. That's really what he said. And then we talked about HR, and I asked him, do you think it's important? What are your views on it? And he said, it's good because it's there to support cooks, so problems like sexual harassment don't happen. Things like violence doesn't happen between coworkers or even between managers and employees. And you hear like a lot of cooks will gang up on other cooks if they're just not cutting it. And human resources is really important because it protects you as an employee of the company. And then I said, what has worked well for you being a manager? Again, he talked about, he would rather be respected than feared. So, he wants to be a really good cook and, have that respect from his fellow cooks rather than just yelling and throwing things and people being afraid of him, because I think that respect holds more power than anything else. And then I said, what mistakes did you have? And he said, not disengaging himself from that line cook mentality where he really wanted to be on the line, but he also had to, control things, all the other 5 stations, and, he had to find a balance and timing and all that stuff that goes into service. So I said, what's your philosophy on managing? What do you really think about it? And, it's the golden rule, really, is what he said. So treat others how you want to be treated. But, he expects the best. He doesn't want people to slack around. He wants really perfection. And he said something interesting. He said, if you strive for perfection, you're not going to hit it, but at least, you got there. You tried to get as close as you could to perfection every time, and every time the food is good. And then, what did I say? Oh, I asked him about, what was it, what did you think about managers or being a manager when you just started out, and what are your views on it now? And he talked about, like some managers that he had were really lazy, and, so he noticed those things, and, you pick up on who's really good and who's really not such a good manager, and, he tried to learn from both, and, he has to work on a lot of costing stuff, and, writing recipes and scheduling and payroll and menu writing and all that stuff, where when you're a line cook, you don't see any of that stuff. All that stuff's done for you, and you're just there to execute, really. And he's kind of like the behind the scenes, everything that happens up until, that knife hits the board or the meat hits the pan. And I said, how do you think you've grown? And he said, age and maturity has definitely changed him as a leader in the kitchen. And he said, you look at the bigger picture as opposed to having the blinders on, like a line cook. He said you're focused on it all the whole time things are happening. You're managing more than just a moment. It's managing people in the moment, ordering for 3 days out for a function a month from now, or working on the new spring menu. That's not going to happen for another 3 months. So you kind of are always thinking ahead and always thinking like, okay, what's next? What do I have to do? What do I have to plan? And then I just asked him, do you have any advice for anybody, in the culinary? And he said, if you don't really love it, if you're not really put your whole 100% into it, then don't even bother, because, you're going to miss holidays and you're going to miss all that. Cooking is a lifestyle. It's not just a job. So, I really liked talking to him. He was really knowledgeable about everything, and like I said, it was really great to hear the hotel side of it, because normally you don't. I just said, the most surprising thing for me that I learned about was the vigorous interview process that comes from HR, and it's good to have that interview process because, like we learned in class, background checks can be so important, especially, with liability and things like that. If they're going off site for a catering event, you want to make sure that the person is really responsible and they're not, they don't have a criminal record or a drinking problem, anything like that that's going to stop them from doing the best job that they can do. Obviously, you can't discriminate if they have other charges, but, I think that interview process really guarantees that you're going to get a really good cook, at least for the time that they're at the restaurant. Let's see. Find that part about turnover. I really want to talk about the turnover part. I'm not finding it in my notes. Like I said, he just, he really stressed, unions and how good that they are for, somebody just starting off. They really benefit the worker. And I really liked how he said, working with people on a personal level, because I feel like, for me, that's how, when I have my own kitchen, I think that I want to run it. I don't want to be somebody that, isn't approachable, and I want to have the respect too, because I feel like I don't respect those chefs that yell a lot, and I don't respect those chefs that talk down to me. I held higher respect for chefs that, especially at school, that treat me like an equal and don't, it's because I'm learning. They still say, we're all cooks and we're all, still learning, because even when you get that chef title, I feel like you still, can learn from other people, in the industry and stuff. And it's like, you shouldn't have an ego. You should just, go in with an open mind, and your way isn't necessarily the right way, because there's a lot of different right ways. There's a lot of different roads that get you to the same place. So I think that's really important. So that's it for me. I'm at 14 minutes. This ran a little bit longer than I thought, but I guess I talked really slow. It was really good experience talking to him, and I hope that eventually I get to work with him at the Four Seasons. Thank you. Bye.